Hello and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. Now, in the last year or so, the US has seen a dramatic rise in the production of its gas and oil. In fact, in 2011, we were told that the oil could rise as much as 20% over the next 5 years. Well, does this mean a new era for the US economy? In the studio, I have Phillip Watson, the CIO of Mirabaud, to discuss a little bit more on this topic. Can I just ask, this new method of drilling, this is going to have a new effect on the US economy, isn't it?
Definitely, and it's already commencing. Although in fact the techniques have been there for some time. The first well that was fracked in America took place in 1947, and the first horizontal drilling well took place in 1991. But what's changed is the technological improvements and the recoverability of reserves has increased dramatically, and that's why you've seen this sort of huge increase in both gas and oil production.
And this increase has happened recently, in the last sort of year or so?
Yes, I mean in gas it's happened, really taken off. If you look at the figures and the projections, really taken off from about the last 4 years. But the big increase in shale oil rather than shale gas has really only happened in the last year, particularly in areas like North Dakota.
And we think then this is going to have obviously a big effect on the US economy. It could be self-sufficient even.
It will be a dramatic impact on the US economy, probably self-sufficient 10 to 12 years ahead. And of course that has enormous ramifications for the US current account.
Philip, what about some of the issues though with this type of drilling long term? And is there going to be any environmental problems or anything to do with the population?
There certainly have been environmental issues raised in some areas. They are more noticeable in areas of high population. But in America, in areas like North Dakota, where the population is very low, that is not an issue at all. And of course, the other factor in America is that if you're a farmer and they're drilling on your land, you get 12.5% of the revenue of the oil or gas or condensate that comes out. So in America, they actively want you to try and find shale oil and gas. Of course, in Europe, the situation is different. You don't have entitlement to any share of the mineral rights. So that's a big incentive. But the other issue to remember on the pollution aspect is when you're doing this drilling, you're normally significantly below the water levels. And some of the issues that have been raised have been fears about poisoning of the water levels or contamination. But in fact, you're drilling well below that. But the whole process of fracking, you do use a lot of water being pumped down and slurry liquids. But as long as the top of the well is controlled well, there shouldn't be a risk. And there hasn't been in America.
Now, the horizontal drilling, I mean, the technique's been going since the 90s, but what's been so key about the last couple of years?
Lots of things. You have, for example, a computer chip right near the end of the drill bit where it works under extreme temperature, which tells you the drill bit whether to go right, left or straight down to where the hydrocarbons are. So it's just enormous improvements in technology that have taken place which have improved the recoverability.
And presumably this is going to reduce, it's going to reduce imports in the US for oil, for instance.
Yeah, well, of course, if there's a chance that it might be self-sufficient in 10, 12 years, it's going to be dramatic.
Now, what about this argument, the Republican argument, or it's an argument I've seen in the past, which is to say that this whole process of fracking and suddenly the US announcing that it has huge amounts of reserves that it's tapping into, that it's essentially to make Barack Obama look good, perhaps, for the election? I
don't think that's the situation at all. Obama has not been terribly friendly towards the oil industry. For example, there was no drilling in the Gulf of Mexico at all last year. There were no step-up wells. And it's only very recently that Obama has allowed Gulf of Mexico wells to be drilled again. And as I say, the real driver has been the people who own the land want the 12.5% revenue if there's any oil or gas underneath their own land. And it's really happened despite his support.
And from your point of view, Philip, obviously as CIO, what does this potentially mean for you now?
You know, obviously in countries like Switzerland, America maybe is not the most popular place at the moment for various reasons. But I think if America becomes self-sufficient of oil, it has huge implications, not only for the value of the dollar, but for the prospects for the American economy overall. And the other side effect that we've seen recently is this breakdown in correlation between the oil and the gas price. So at the moment, gas is only about 15–20% of the oil equivalent. So America has the cheapest gas in the world, which is going to create a capital expenditure boom.
Philip, thank you very much for coming in the studio
Pleasure.
once again. That's all we've got time for here on Dukascopy TV. Stay with us though throughout the day. We'll continue to bring you updates and further interviews. Until next time though, goodbye.